Anthony Brindisi, young, what's his name, standing by on the line right now. Good morning,
Good morning.
Assemblyman Brindisis. And so it's back to work.
Back to work, first day of session in Albany.
I saw your statement on the governor's plan, and I listen. I thought the same thing. I mean, he's talking about free college for all students, anybody over whose parents make under $125,000. Your tuition-free college at any state college. The question would be, this is awesome, great fanfare, but he's not been a friend of education, A, and B, he's still got a problem in Marcy to correct.
He still has a problem in Marcy. He has a lot of problems he has to correct, and this is kind of another distraction to take everyone's focus off of that, but also get him some national headlines, because I really think he's trying to position himself to run for president in a couple of years or be the progressive alternative to Donald Trump. So he's going to latch onto the Bernie Sanders bandwagon and offer free college tuition for everyone in New York State that attends a SUNY school who earns under $125,000, which, look, I said in my statement, I think it's certainly a noble idea for him to embrace the idea of college affordability. The Assembly has been embracing college affordability and trying to increase tuition assistance programs for a number of years, so it's nice to see him on the bandwagon about that.
Yeah.
But again, we're facing some financial uncertainties going into this year. Even in his best estimates, when the Assembly looked at this proposal a few years back, it was way more expensive than what he is proposing right now. So with this governor, the devil's always in the details, and he gets this splashy headline, but it's never really quite what it seems.
Andrew,
you are no longer pulling punches with
yeah,
this guy.
You're not holding back. And
Good for you.
I got to tell you,
I was trying to pull punches on that one. Really, I didn't do a good job.
I appreciate. I mean, you're a Democratic assemblyman. You've been very pro on this guy, and I actually got into it with somebody yesterday who was arguing where were they earlier? Why weren't they out earlier? You in particular saying that this deal was going south. Well, you've reached the point of no return, or hopefully there is a return. But you gotta remain in belief that this can be salvaged, and that ended, of course, a couple of weeks ago. And now you gotta lay it on the line here. He's got to fix this.
And for people are it's okay to question where were you before this and that. I've seen comments like that, but I encourage anyone, take a look at the New York Times article that was out last week that really did an in-depth look at what I did, what others had done in the year leading up till the AMS announcement. We were meeting with the governor. I had to go to the state fair to track the governor down to try and get 2 minutes with the guy, just to tell him that this project was going south.
And I want to get
just because I'm not screaming it from the corner of Genesee Street doesn't mean I'm not out there doing what I can to try and save the project. It's something I worked very hard on.
Let's dig into that moment going out to the state fair. Can you talk about that? Because when you first hear that on the surface, it's like, all right, well, your people set up an appointment with the governor, and you're going to meet out at the state fair. Did it go that way, or did you guys really?
It did not go that way.
Yeah.
Just going back until even the budget this past year in 2016, we had a meeting in March with the governor's office, myself, the county executive, the senator, Steve DeMille, just alerting them of problems. We were kind of met with indignation by Kelly Uros and others in the governor's staff. There was a breach letter that was sent by AMS to SUNY Poly over the summer. Multiple emails, multiple phone calls by everyone locally to the governor's office saying, you need to get on this, this is not going well. And finally, to the point of frustration, myself and Senator Griffo, I haven't attended the opening day of the county or the state fair in my time as an assemblyman, but this year I made a point to go there because I knew I would track the governor down that day and be able to try and get 2 minutes with him, which we did, at which time he promised to call us personally the week after, and he never did. So it's not that there was a lack of trying. There was certainly trying on my part and the part of others to try and bring this to his attention before it got too late. And unfortunately, it got too late, and now they're trying to salvage something. So it's great they have the right players in place now with Howard Zemsky and Empire State Development, and I think there's a lot of promising leads at the site that we can capitalize on. But again, this was something that they could have run back on course a while ago with our help, and they didn't.
The governor also was really the one that came out and gave the large number of jobs. And it's almost like we talked about it before the holiday, about that over-promising. And he was out talking about 3,000 jobs, and then it was 2,000. And then we find out it was really 750 jobs over 10 years. Yes, that can mean a lot more, but it's that over-promising that he sets the stage for that, and you guys have to pick up the pieces.
Well, he's out there making the promises, and you'll see me. I'm going to go on Capitol tonight, this afternoon, and beyond tonight, so you can see me say it there as well. Since I've been in office in 2011, he's promised 7 different companies to this region for nanotechnology. Not one of them are currently operating in this area. So we've been supportive. I've done my part to try and secure the funding to make these things happen. But I can't build the facility. I can't negotiate the deals with these companies. It has to come down to the governor and his staff doing those things. And he hasn't led on that. And if he wants to be a leader, he needs to be there in the good times and the bad.
Yeah.
And I've also criticized him for not coming here to tell the people of this region that he is going to make this right, that he's the one who made the promise, he's the one who is going to fulfill the promise, and he's going to do everything he can to do that. He's not come to the region to say that. It's disgraceful, in my opinion, that he hasn't. I think it's easy to be there for the ribbon cuttings and the groundbreakings.
Yeah.
To be a true leader, you got to be there in the tough times as well, and that's something he shies away from.
And, by the way, shying away from the legislature this year as part of the State of the State. He's planning, to go on these...
Do a little tour.
These tours of cities. Utica has not been named as of yet.
He won't come here because he's afraid of the reaction he'll get. He's afraid of tough questions that he'll get here if he comes. The reason he's doing this is, again, he's trying to get away from controversy. Last year, he was called out in the middle of the State of the State by an assemblyman down in the New York City area who got up and started yelling at him during the State of the State.
Yep, I remember that.
Embarrassing. It was embarrassing for him last year to have to do that. This year, there's a talk of legislators not even showing up at the State of the State. And it's not because they'll try and say it's because we didn't get a pay raise. First and foremost, I was against the pay raise at the whole time. That's not the reason. The reason is because this guy makes promises he can't keep, and that's not the sign of a leader. When you make a promise, you make a commitment. You're a governor, a president, whatever you are. You better fulfill that promise. That's what leaves a bad taste in people's mouths in terms of government. Is when you have people out there saying one thing, doing another, and then not standing by their word. That's what really sends a sour taste in everyone's mouth.
Talking to Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi. Okay, so you say the companies that aren't running, GE's got to be one of those companies that's not operating right now.
Not operating now. From what we've been told in the last few weeks by Howard Zemsky and the governor's staff, is that they are still committed. They have other partners that are involved in that site. I've encouraged them to hurry up and make that public so people know what's going on there.
Yeah.
And we had a job fair a few years back that many people showed up at, and we have people that need jobs here. So let's get these companies up and running if the deals are ready to go. But let's make it sooner rather than later.
And the other, I think, the point that needs to be pushed home to this governor is that he should know, and I believe he does know, this community has been promised over the years so many different times. Albany has made promises that have just gone empty. And, one more time, it's to the point now where people don't believe anything. And, again, you guys are left holding the bag here.
Well, we're the ones that are here. We're on the ground level. You could see us in the grocery store. You could see us out in the community. I make myself very available. So do the other members of the legislature and county executive as well. So we're here. And like I said, when I went to the press conference, and I said after that, I'll take my lumps. I have no problem doing that because that's what I'm here for. But I'm also going to work hard to make sure this happens. I'm going to continue to criticize and support the governor where I can to make sure this happens because, like I said, he's the one that made the commitment. We're the ones that secured the funding. Let's now get it done so people can put this behind them and start getting some people working because that's everyone's goal at the end of the day is to make sure people are working in jobs at that facility, earning a paycheck, spending that money in the community because it's going to help everybody.
Andrew.
So I wanted to actually get back to the free tuition thing. One of the things you had said in your statement was talking about we can't even really afford some of the public education at the high school and even lower levels. If this passes, how will that affect public education in New York State?
I was watching Bernie Sanders talk yesterday, and all respect to Bernie Sanders, I think he certainly ignited a movement across the country, but he's talking about how some fifth grader, if they try hard, they work hard, they could have the shot at going to college. What I want to say to him is, why don't you come look at the fifth grade classes in the city of Utica and see, 30, 40 kids in the classroom and kids coming from broken homes. And, these kids don't have a shot because their school district is underfunded.
Yeah.
They don't have enough teachers in the classroom to lower those class sizes. So how are those fifth graders going to earn the right to a college education when they can't even get a decent fifth grade education right now? So let's focus on the root problem, making sure that we have enough teachers in our classrooms at the lower levels. So by the time they're in high school or possibly dropping out, we're not trying to remediate the problem. We actually have a problem that was solved a long time ago because we funded early childhood education and we funded K through 6 classrooms and put teachers in the classrooms to help lower class sizes, because the fact of the matter is, when you can put money in those classrooms to lower class sizes, those kids will perform. It's been done in other school districts, not rocket science here. So let's start working on our K through 6 education, K through 12 education, and our community colleges too, which have been historically underfunded by the state over the last 5 years.
That's what I was going to say. We're talking about the one thing that actually would help, I guess, is if tuition is free, it would help with the enrollment problem in community colleges across the state. It is a real issue. Community colleges in New York State are struggling tremendously right now.
They are struggling. You talk to MVCC or HCCC and you could ask them. They are struggling. They have not the funding from the state. The state has not held up to their commitment of providing the levels of funding that they're supposed to for community colleges, which has caused them to have to make cuts where they have to. And look, community colleges right now are really getting people into the workforce. They are training people for the jobs that are available out there. You look at MVCC doing what they are doing here, training people for jobs in cybersecurity, which is a growing industry, in drone technology, which is another industry that is growing. These are the kinds of programs we have to put in place in our colleges to get people into the workforce. Not everyone's going to go to 4-year school. I say this all the time, or graduate school. And you have many students coming out of these graduate schools that can't find a job because a liberal arts education isn't what it was, 40 years ago, 30 years ago. So let's make sure that we're training kids for the science and technologies and engineering. A lot of those programs are just certificate programs or 2-year degrees at community colleges, and we're not doing enough right now to fund those.
Listen, this guy, the governor. Will he listen?
It's just disappointing because I have been a supporter of his in the past. I want to support the governor. Obviously, he's in the same party as me. I want to try and do what I can to support my governor. But when he does things that I think are wrong, I'm going to speak out against them. I don't care if we're in the same party. So, I want him to focus on the problems that are facing New Yorkers right now. And right now you have areas of the state, like the Mohawk Valley, like the Southern Tier, like the North Country, that are struggling. They don't see the same economic success as Long Island or the Finger Lakes or even what's happening out in Buffalo right now. So those are the areas where I think the governor should be focusing his attention, because we're either going to be the Empire State where everyone does well, or we're going to have these fiefdoms all over the state where just certain areas of the state do well. And I don't think that's right. How can you call yourself the Empire State when certain areas of the state are struggling? That's where I would focus my attention. And if he really was intending to run for president in 4 years, it would do him well to focus on those areas, because Mohawk Valley, Southern Tier, North Country, that looks like Ohio and Wisconsin and Michigan and all those Rust Belt states that Hillary Clinton just got shellacked in. So, those are the areas that he should be focusing on. And when he does, and if he's successful fixing places like Utica, he can go into Youngstown, Ohio, and say, look what I did in Utica, and I can do that here too.
I will say one concern that I do have is he likes to run a wave. Look at the issue with teachers. He got into a huge battle with teachers over testing and scores, and then he backed off on that, and again left it for everybody to deal with after he created a whole mess in schools across the state. I do fear that nanotechnology for this governor right now is a bad term because it's bringing the story back to Caballeros, and he seems to have a tendency to run from bad stories, and I hope that doesn't happen in this case.
I hope not. I really hope not. That's it's one quality that his father did not have. His father, whether you liked him or didn't like him, he was always there and did not run away from bad stories. In the later parts of his career, where he was trying to cut programs, tuition assistance programs, he got a lot of heat from some of the minority communities and others out there who had been his traditional supporters, unions that were very upset with him. And he went and he talked to them. And look, when you sit and talk with people, it makes a big difference. People respect that. Yeah. They want leaders who are going to show up and answer tough questions, not run from problems.
All right, you'll be on Capitol tonight. I'm assuming that's taped this afternoon.
That's correct.
All right. Assemblyman Anthony Brindisis, we appreciate your shooting from the hip. I kind of enjoy it, to be honest. So, all right, good
Thank
stuff.
You, Bill.
Thanks so much. Anthony
All right,
Brindisis.
have a good one.